Hello everyone, welcome back to another oSTEM Hackathon training video. Now in this video we're going to be finishing up all the design stuff for a web app. Last week I didn't upload any videos, so if you feel like you're behind or anything, don't worry. And hopefully that little break gave you time to study for your midterms and get caught up where we are in terms of videos. I also didn't really have much time to make videos since I was really busy with my classes because it was midterm season and I had to go back to LA to celebrate my birthday, go to a concert, so that was fun. So anyways, in this video we're going to be finishing up some design stuff for our web app, and what that entails is creating this settings page, and this page's purpose is to update user information if they want. And then we're going to create this page. This page is simply going to serve to write a new post. And then we're also going to be creating the create account page and the login page. And after that, we're going to be essentially done with all the stuff, all the pages for a web app, except for the about and contact pages. And for those two pages, the about and contact pages, I'm going to leave it up to you to design. So you could talk to me if you have any questions on designing the about page or contact page, or how to use different React stuff. And the about page will just have information about the site. Contact page would have preferably a form where you could send emails to a account, and don't post your actual email in plain text, because that's not secure, because then web scrapers could find your email and stuff if you were to post this online, and they could send you spam. So for the contact page, I want you all to investigate how to create a email form in React with HTML and CSS and make that work. And anyways, yeah, let's get started with the login and create account design. Okay, so the first thing you all are going to do is you're going to go to your pages in your source folder of your repo, and you're going to create two new folders, one named create account and then one named login. And these are for our login and create account pages. So in create account, you're going to do create account.css, create account.jsx, just create those new files. And then for login, we're going to do login.css and login.jsx. So once you do that, we're going to first start by opening up the create account.jsx. And I already just copy pasted the finished code over here, so I could just walk you through it. So this is the create account page where you could register a new account, and this is just for the design. So you're first going to import the CSS and then create the export default function for it to name the component, and also go into your app.js. This is just so you could view what's happening on your screen as you do this when you do npm start. So you do this here. So import create account from pages and then the path all the way to that new JSX file, and then you're gonna replace the post thing component we had here and just name that with create account. That way, when you go into your browser and do npm start and go to localhost 3000, you're gonna now see your create account page as you build it. And also, when we're gonna finish this up later, in probably the next video, I'm just gonna add all the paths and stuff, so when you click buttons, they actually go to other pages, so you don't have to manually do this each time. But right now we're just working on each page manually, individually. So anyways, let's go back to create account.jsx. So in here, as I said, you're going to create this function with the return, and within this return you're going to have your div tag with a class name create account, and this is going to have all of the HTML for that page. So then you're going to have the name. This right here is, let me open up my browser right here. And okay, so that span is going to be this name. So you're going to name it create account, register, whatever you want, and you're going to give it a unique class name. So I just named it create account title. And then you're going to have a form, which is this part here. And what a form is in HTML, it just specifies somewhere where like users could input information and eventually submit it. And later on, when we get more into the JavaScript backend stuff, once you submit this, click create account, it's going to send everything in here to the database and create a new user. But we're getting ahead of ourselves with that. Right now, we're just focusing on design. So within this form, you're going to have these three things. Now, you could just have email and password if you want, or you could add more things like if you want your web app to take phone number. But for my specific example, I just have username, email, and password. So this label corresponds to this here. And then I have the input, and I name that input create account input, so I could format it nicely in my CSS later. And then I make the type text and the placeholder username. And as you can see, this is the placeholder. You can name that whatever you feel fit. And then I just do all that same stuff for the email entry and the password entry. And then at the very end, I create this button called create account button. And that is what you see here. And right now, if you like do all this code, it's going to look ugly because you don't have the CSS yet, obviously. But I'm going to walk you through my CSS. And hopefully you could design it how you want. And then after the form, I have another button. And this button's name is just login. So when you click this, it's just going to take you to the login page. Like, it's for, suppose, if you already have an account. And also with this button, make sure it's within this form opening and closing tag, because this button is going to make the form do stuff once it's clicked. And then eventually we're going to have like on submit for the form. So when you click this button, it will call a function, and that function will create a new user in our database. But that's for future videos. So once you're done with that, you should now see a very rough form on your screen. It's not going to look pretty or anything, because obviously we are just getting started here and we don't have our CSS. Okay, so now that we have our basic HTML, we need to actually add CSS to it to make it look pretty. So let's go over to createaccounts.css. This will be empty for you. I'm just going to run you through what my CSS is very quick. So for my create account tag, which is basically this whole chunk here, I have display flex direction column, align item center, because I want it centered in the middle of the page. And then I also specify a background here. So what this is that's the pastel pride flag back here. So if you want like a background behind this just to make it more prettier in terms of design, you can add this to your CSS. So background, and then it specifies a linear gradient. And basically what this does for me is basically it makes it more like see-through, so, and like less vibrant, because before this was a lot more vibrant. I just thought it looked nice when it was more like see-through looking. So you can specify this if you want, and then you can also specify the URL where your image is. So I just went to Google and I just found a background picture I liked, and I just posted the link to that image here within this URL part, and that let me have this in my background. And you also want your background size to cover the entire screen, so also add this, it's very important. And you also want the height to be this. And then that being said, you should now have like your background image and everything. And then for the title, I just specified a font size because I want it to be bigger. And then for the form, I just specified some margin stuff, flex direction column, so things go down in that type of format. And then I also specified what I wanted each label to be like. The labels, remember, are these. As you can see, I didn't specify a class name for these labels. I just went in to create account form, which is this, and then I went everything within this chunk here that has the tag label has this applied to it. So this is what this little arrow means, essentially. And so I just specified font size and margin. And then also for each of the input boxes, I made the background color this very light purple. And then border radius, 10 pixels. Again, border radius makes this kind of rounded and look more like pleasant. And I added some padding, and I made it have no border. And then for the button here, I chose the background color to be this purple pink color, and then the text color to be white, as you can see here. And I added some more things to design it how I want. And I'm going to be going through the CSS stuff pretty quick, because hopefully you're getting the gist of things from following along with the previous design videos, and hopefully you're able to take stuff from this video and create your own unique designs and just play around with everything. And then finally we have our create account login button. So that's just the login button if you want to go to the login page, which won't have functionality yet. We'll get to that in a later video. So I just made it the same background color and text color, and then made cursor pointer. This is important. Add this. That means when we click it, we could click it with our little pointer. And then I added border radius and the margins, and that's it. And then once you have all your design stuff, you're done with your create account page design. And as you can see, here's mine. And anyways, now the login page is going to be really similar to this, so I suggest pausing the video and going through the register page right now if you don't get everything, because I'm going to go blow through the login page design pretty quickly, because it's literally just copy pasting code in CSS from the create account page. So now for the login page. So for creating this page, I suggest going back to your create account.jsx and literally just copy pasting all of this into the login.jsx and just editing it to follow along with my video. And do the same with the create account.css and just copy all this into login.css, and we're just going to change some names around and stuff for the most part. And also in your app.jsx, we're going to also have to import this new login page so we could actually view it when we do npm start. So let me just do that very quick. Import login from this login. I think that's what I named my folder. Yeah, it's just login. And then instead of create account here, we're now going to be editing the login page, so you can just go ahead and change this to login. So now your screen should be blank right now. Since we didn't really create any code for this yet, I'm just going to walk you through what I already have for the sake of time. So this is the login page we're going to be creating. So let's get right into that. So in login.jsx, you're going to want to, basically, you should have copied over everything you have from createaccount.jsx into login.jsx. So you're just going to change the name of the function to login, import login.css instead of createaccount.jsx, change the class name to login here. Change basically everything to just, instead of create account, have login, essentially. So you could do a find replace, and then you're going to have the title be login, of course, and then you're going to have just username and password. You could choose to log in with other stuff if you want, if you'd rather log in with email. Just for my web app, I'm just doing it username and password, because in my web app, all usernames are unique. So you're going to have a login form, and it's just going to have two labels, username and password, just like that. And then it's going to have a login button, which will look like this once we get into the CSS. And then under it, we're going to have a create account button. And this is if you're trying to log in, but you're oh wait, I don't have an account. So then if you click this button, it will take you to the create account page. So that button is going to be outside of the form. And also make sure to have the login button within the form open and closing tags here. So make sure to have it in between those tags. for everything to work properly. And once you're done with that, you should refresh your page, and you'll see your form with the login title, but it will be a little ugly because you don't have CSS yet. And well, I do right now. So for the next part, we're going to do the CSS. So to do the CSS, copy over everything you have in create account.css into login.css, because we're going to be like barely changing it. So then just rename everything that had create account to login. So you're going to have login title, login. It's going to literally have the same CSS as create account.css. You're going to have login form label, just like we had in a create account.css, and you're going to have login input with basically the same stuff, a login button, and then login create account button. So as you can see, it's like really, really similar. And then the only thing that is different is this login button disabled. So I just added this because essentially when you click login, you don't want to like have to like click it multiple times, or you want to know when you actually clicked login. So basically what this does is once you click it, it's going to turn gray until it logs you and takes you to the home page. So also add this, and once you're done with that, your login page should look all beautiful depending on what you added to the CSS. And also keep in mind that for this part, it was the same as create account.css, where I just had this pride background theme behind my login form. So I just did the linear gradient thing and pasted the URL to that image that I found on Google. And then you should all be set for your login page. Okay, so the next part of our design is going to be creating this settings page here, the design for it. And this page's purpose is going to be for editing the account and deleting the account for a logged in user. So you could like change your profile picture, your username, email, password, all that good stuff. So to get started with creating this, you're going to go to your repository, and then you're going to go to pages, and you're going to create this new folder called settings and put these two new files in it, settings.css and settings.jsx. Then you're going to open those two up, and I'm just going to walk you through all the code I already have in it right now, and you can just follow along. That's because I feel like if I'm like coding while also recording the video is going to take forever. So feel free to pause the video whenever you want. If you're stuck on something or if I'm going too fast, you're always free to pause the video and look at what I have and I'm trying to explain. So first things first, you're going to want to go to your app.js, and you're going to want to import the settings page just like that, and then change what we add here to settings. That way, so when you do npm start, you can actually view your changes on the screen when you do npm start. And then you're going to open your settings.jsx, and I'm just going to walk you through this first, and then I'm going to walk you through the CSS. So first things first is you're going to want to import your sidebar, because we're going to have a sidebar on the side of our settings page just like that. And you're going to also want to import your CSS file for when we actually implement that. And you're going to want to create your default function component called settings, just like that. And then first things first is you're going to have two overarching div tags. First one is just going to be called settings. Settings encapsulates this entire page, and then you're going to have your sidebar under that, and you're going to have another div called settings wrapper. So what that means is this is the wrapper for the settings form and all that good stuff, and then this is your sidebar, and all of this together creates the settings page. So that's kind of how it's laid out there. And then you're going to have a settings title. So that div is just to specify this little chunk here. And within that, you're going to have your edit account title and your delete account title with appropriate class names for each. So you could edit them in CSS. So I just have those two things. And then you're going to have a settings form. And this form serves to update your information in your account when you specify update. And right now it's not going to be functioning because it's just going to be like a form So within this form, you're first going to have your first label be profile picture, because we want to, of course, be able to upload a new profile picture whenever we want. So in that, you're going to have a div for profile picture, which encapsulates this stuff here. So you're going to have an image, and right now I just pull a default profile picture image from my imagers folder in the public folder of my repository. Later on, once we have our database and all that good stuff, we're going to actually pull the current user's profile picture from the database to upload it on the screen. But for now, since we don't have that yet, I'm just putting a default placeholder profile picture image. And then you're going to also have next to that profile picture this little upload icon. So when you click it, you could actually upload stuff like photos, a new photo. And you could get that little icon from Font Awesome, which I discussed a few videos back. So this site, briefly, it basically gives you a bunch of free cool icons you could use for your site. You could use buttons if you want, but this makes things a little more pretty. So you find an icon you like. I like this one, and then you could get the HTML, which is here, and I just copied that into my file, as you can see here. And then I added this additional class name so I could more easier edit it in the CSS. So then you're going to add label HTML for file input. And then you're going to have more stuff for your file input. So all this stuff is just handling, actually opening up like a new window to actually pick a picture you want and upload it. But right now it's not going to work because we don't have our backend yet, clearly. So after all that profile picture stuff, you're going to have some pretty easy stuff, just how it was in the login or create account page. You're just going to have a label for username, email, and password, because we want to be able to update all those three things. And then you're going to finally have a button for updating everything. Just like that. So you could pause the video, take a look at that. And once you're done implementing all this code here, all this HTML, you're going to see your form and everything, but it's going to be really ugly on the screen because right now you don't have CSS, but I do. So now we're going to go into the settings.css and actually make things look pretty. So in settings.css, we're going to start from the top here. We're going to have it display flex so it works together with the sidebar nicely. And then we're going to have settings wrapper, flex 11, position center. That makes it look nice along with the sidebar. And we're going to have our settings delete account. We're going to make that red. It kind of gives the warning to the user that clicking this could be bad if they don't want to delete their account. And then we're going to specify some more font stuff there and make it centered. And for our form, we're going to do some stuff there. We're going to make it the width stretch so it goes all the way across the window, just like that. And we're going to add some padding to it, flex direction column, so it's one on top of each other. And we're going to have the settings update title. This, I just made it a dark purple, and I did some more font stuff. I'm just going quick with the CSS because you probably know a lot from playing around from the last videos. And then for the settings title, this is basically just all of this together. You're going to do display flex. I made no margin for the top. And then justify content space between. So there's a space between those two things. And I centered them and made it flex direction column. And then for the settings profile picture input, I just made the width 30% because when I was playing around with that seemed to work best for me. And then settings profile picture, I just did display flex and I added some margin and I aligned items to the center. And then for the icon, this is the actual picture itself. I made the width and height, this stuff, and padding 5, and all of that good stuff. Then cursor pointer, that. I think actually, I take that back. The icon is not the actual picture itself. It's this little guy here. And I also did cursor pointer for that because we want to be able to click on it with our little mouse. So let's go back to where I was. So that's the icon. And then for the update button, I made it this purple color. I made it have a border, and I made the text color black. And also make sure your font family is there if you want it to be consistent with everything else on your web app. And then I added some more stuff to center it nicely how I want it. And then for the actual image, which is this default profile picture, I went into settings, profile picture, div tag, and looked for anything with the image tag. So that's what this little arrow signifies again. And I just made it 100 by 100 pixels. And then I made the border radius 20 pixels. That just makes it more curved and nice looking. And then for the settings form, like the input stuff, for those inputs, I just specified this. So if you look in here, let's go back to the form. All the stuff in here with the input tag, this stuff gets applied to it. So I just made it purple and border none, height 25 pixels, and then I did border bottom. This just simply adds a line under each thing. I just thought that like makes it more readable for it to like be divided by lines. So you could do like border dash bottom, or you could just do border if you want like a box around each thing. And yeah, so that's basically how you create the setting page design. I ran through that pretty quickly because hopefully you're getting the gist of things now. So feel free to pause the video, play around with that until you get a settings page you like. And after that, we're going to now move on to the right post page. Okay, so our next task in our last and final part for designing our web app, other than creating the contact and about page, which I'll leave up to you, is creating the right post page. So this is what we want it to look like. Right now, this like image here, this pride flag, is serving as a little placeholder. So eventually we're going to be able to want to upload images to our posts. So this is just going to be a placeholder for that until we get things working in the back end. So first things first, you're going to want to go to your pages folder in your repo, create this new folder named right post, and within that, you're going to create these two guys. You're going to create writepost.css and writepost.jsx. Just like that, you're going to open those up in Visual Studio Code or whatever IDE you're using. And then you're going to go to your app.jsx and quickly write this in order to input your stuff so you could actually see what you're changing on the screen when you do npm start. And then you're going to replace what you had here with write post. So after that, you're going to go into JSX, and I'm just going to walk you through what I have here. First things first, you're going to want to import the CSS just like that and create the export default function to define our new React element here. And within this, you're going to have a overarching div tag called just write post, and then you're going to have your image, which is going to serve as like the post image you upload when you like start creating a new post. But right now, since we don't have the backend, we're just going to put a default image there. So literally just put any random photo in your images folder in your public folder of your repo as just a little placeholder for now, and we'll go back and change it later. And then after that, you're going to have a new form, and this form is going to serve for you to like create the title for a new post and also the summary, like the actual content of the post. And within that, we're going to have a div called write post group, and within that, we're going to have input stuff for the first one. We're going to have input stuff for actually uploading the image. So also, you probably recognize this. This is also from Font Awesome. Basically, the icon I chose from Font Awesome is this little plus tag. So when you click on this, you're going to open up your file system, and you're going to be able to like find a photo, and it's going to upload here. And then eventually when you click post, it's going to actually upload to all the posts. So I just put that here. It was very similar to our settings page profile picture image. So you're going to have like the input for that. Just like that. And then you're gonna have another right post group, and within that you're gonna have text area, right post text, right post input, and that's gonna be all the stuff in here where it says type here. And also up here, I forgot to mention, you're gonna also have the input text box thing for the actual title of your post. So this part here, and you could like write in that. So once you have that, all that form stuff completed, you should be good. And then after that, like still within the form though, within the form, you're gonna have a button just called post, and you're gonna do type equals submit. So when we click that button, it's gonna submit all the stuff in the form to the database. And within the database, we're gonna have a bunch of posts. That's where we're gonna store all the posts for our site, and we'll get into that in later videos. But for now, just create a new button there, and after that, you should be good with the right post page, aside from the CSS. So right now, it should look really ugly on your screen because we don't have CSS yet. So next things next, we're gonna go into writepost.css, and I'm just gonna walk you through this. So right post, I just added some padding. Let me put this here. So it just has some padding between the top and the actual content. And then for the form, I made the position relative, and I also put in my font family that I chose from Google Fonts. So when they actually type, it's the font I want. And then I have right post text. I also implemented my font family there, and I also made it the width and height I wanted and all of that stuff. And then for right post group, I just added padding and margin, centered it. So basically this is one group, and then this is the other. That's kind of how I designed it for my site. And then you're gonna have right post input, and for the input I just made the font family the same, and then I made border solid, and what that is just this part here. And then after that, I did the right post submit. That's the button down here, this guy, and I just made it purple. I basically like copied the CSS I had from the settings page for my settings update button here. So it's basically designed the exact same way. Cursor pointer, so when I could click on it, it will do stuff when I later implement it to do stuff. And then I also have right post input focus. What that means is like when you like click on one of these, it like focuses in on it, like you can kind of see from this here. And then I did right post input placeholder. That's just like the title and type here part. I just made that like gray with the font weight. And then for the icon, that's this little guy, I just made its color this like gray blue, and then added cursor pointer, so when you like click on it, you could like find files. And I just formatted it and put it where I wanted on the screen. And then for the image, it's this placeholder image right now, which will later eventually be the image from the database, or whatever image you upload from your computer. So right now it's just this placeholder. So eventually we want to like format every image we upload in a specific way so it will show up on the screen nicely. Because if we don't, let's say you have a very, very giant image and we don't like format it nicely, it would like literally take up the whole screen. So this part is very important here. We want height auto, width, and we specify the specific width, display flex, and border radius adds these little sanded out corners here. You don't have to have that if you don't want. But after that, we're pretty much done with our design and the right post page. Please like go back and pause the video if you're stuck on something, or ask me questions in Slack. And yeah, we're done with the design now. Now that we're done with all the design stuff, we're still not done with the about and contact page design. So those two pages, I'm going to leave it up for like homework for you to figure out yourself, so I'm not like just like holding your hand the whole way. Just so you could like learn on your own, learn by doing. So for the about page, you're just going to create a new page, and within that page you're gonna like write about the website or add whatever you want. The contact page, the email form I discussed earlier on, and to do that, do those pages, you're gonna go into pages and you're gonna create 2 new folders, like one named like about or one named contact, and create the CSS and JSX for that, and just work on that. You should be knowledgeable enough to do all that stuff on your own now or experiment. So yeah. So that concludes the end of this video and the end of our design part of this training. So now we're all done with all the design. Once you do your little homework thing of creating the about and contact pages, and then in the next video I'm just gonna walk you through how to like connect all the buttons for the site so you can like navigate the site nicely, and we're gonna start doing the back end stuff. And that part is a little bit more challenging, so feel free to come to the office hours every Saturday to ask me questions. I could walk you through things if you want, and all that good stuff. And yeah, thank you for watching, and we're done with the design part. See you in the next video.